Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of Dallas LeBeau. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the incident, then offer my analysis. Dallas Avery LeBeau was born on October 17, 2002, and was raised near Denver, Colorado. He sometimes went by the name Booney Rat. I will just refer to him as Dallas. He lived with his parents, Jason and Valerie, and his younger brother, Dusty. From a young age, Dallas developed an intense interest in outdoor activities. He became a competitive skier at the age of 8. In 2021, he graduated from high school and found work remodeling houses and condominiums. In 2023, Dallas became a ski coach in Winter Park, Colorado, which is 66 miles west of Denver. He had dreams of becoming a pilot or going to trade school, but at that time, he was focused on building his career in the ski industry. Dallas desired to be successful on a circuit called the Free Ride World Tour, which featured elite skiers. Despite his decent level of talent, Dallas wasn't performing well as a competitor. He was ranked 204th in the contest. Money was also a problem. Skiing is expensive, and Dallas did not have any sponsors. He was desperate for success and believed that he needed to make some bold move in order to jumpstart his career. In January 2024, he found an idea consistent with this goal, something that would breathe new life into a dying dream. Dallas intended to jump over Highway 40, just west of Berthoud Pass Summit. This is about 11 miles south of Winter Park. This type of maneuver is referred to as a gap jump. It features a high level of danger, which is the point. The risk makes completing the maneuver exciting and significant. People will always take notice when somebody does something like this. Dallas was extremely motivated to carry out the jump. He planned on submitting the video to the Line of the Year contest for GoPro. This contest paid $10,000 for the best video submitted each month. Furthermore, if his video was named Best of the Year, he would win another $20,000. Dallas assumed that the video would get a tremendous amount of exposure on social media, making him famous. He could transform into a legendary social media influencer and, of course, be recognized as a competitive skier. Furthermore, this kind of publicity could lead to sponsors, which he desperately needed to finance his skiing activities. At the location on Highway 40 that Dallas selected, there were 3 lanes and a shoulder. The width of the highway was about 40 feet. His plan was to ski down the slope toward the highway, launch into the air from a ramp that he constructed, perform a double backflip above the pavement, and safely land on the other side of the highway. Dallas traveled to the site to prepare the area. For example, he shoveled ice and snow, cut down tree branches, and constructed the ramp. Initially, the jump was planned for late March 2024, but Dallas became sick. This delayed the jump until April. Now moving to the timeline of the incident. On Tuesday, April 9, 2024, at about 3 p.m., Dallas LeBeau prepared for his fateful jump over Highway 40 at mile marker 241.5. He and 3 of his friends reviewed plans to memorialize the historic jump. One friend was positioned on or near the highway and would take pictures of Dallas making the jump. Another friend would video record Dallas from above the ramp, and the third friend would be operating a drone. On his chest, Dallas had a GoPro camera, which would capture an exciting first-person view of the action. In the prior week, it only snowed 7 inches, but Dallas believed this was sufficient for his jump. He initially planned to start skiing above the cliff. This meant that he would jump off the cliff to the runway, then hit the ramp and fly over the highway. The problem is, when he practiced landing on the runway from the cliff, one of his skis kept coming off his foot. To minimize the risk of this problem, Dallas decided to start his run on the slope below the cliff. This gave him about 150 feet of runway leading down to the ramp. After standing at the top of the runway for a few minutes by himself, Dallas was ready for his big moment. He was wearing a helmet and other protective gear. He launched down the slope and quickly approached the ramp. Just before he hit the ramp, his left ski came off his boot. This caused him to slow down. When Dallas launched off the ramp, his speed was insufficient to clear the highway. Dallas completed the first backflip, but gave up on the second and adjusted his stance for impact. He must have known that he wasn't going to make it. At his highest point, Dallas was 40 feet above the pavement. He yelled the word, "Whoa," and fell toward the highway. After slamming into the pavement, he slid across the highway and hit the guardrail. Two of his friends reached him right away. The other one was above the ramp, as I mentioned. Dallas was not responsive. The friends called 911 and performed CPR. First responders arrived at 3:43 p.m. and found Dallas LeBeau dead. He had lacerated his liver and right kidney, and there were fractures to his femurs, his ribs, and his skull. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. Dallas LeBeau was an excitement seeker, which was reflected in many aspects of his life. In addition to skiing, he was involved in cliff jumping, dirt bike riding, and a number of other high-risk activities. During his time as a ski coach, Dallas often pushed his students to be daring. One student said his coaching style involved saying things like, do it scared, you have to trust yourself that you can, even if you're scared, just push through. Based on his attitude toward life, it's not surprising that Dallas would gamble on a high-risk jump to save his career. Item number 2, Dallas did not actually know if he would develop enough speed on the slope to clear the highway. He also didn't know if the ramp was constructed at the right angle to give him sufficient lift. Dallas never made any calculations. Rather, he planned to accomplish the task based on pure instinct. Put another way, he was guessing. Dallas was confident that he could feel his way through the maneuver and was not worried about coming up short and slamming into the pavement. He told his mother that if anything, he was going to overshoot the landing. Despite his high level of confidence leading up to the maneuver, Dallas did appear to be nervous as he was standing on top of the slope getting ready to ski down. Perhaps part of him knew this was a terrible idea and would be the last idea he would ever have the opportunity to test. After all, many people had told Dallas that the jump was extremely dangerous, and there was a high likelihood of him being killed or seriously injured. His mother pointed out that there was a guardrail next to Highway 40, which might be difficult to clear. Dallas remained defiant right up until the end, telling one of his friends, "Everybody thinks I'm going to get hurt. I'm going to be fine." Item number 3, Dallas was very determined to be a well-known competitive skier and a famous social media influencer. Undoubtedly, he did have talent as a skier. For instance, he was pretty good at backflips. But in competition, Dallas did not perform well. Again, he was 204th in the circuit where he competed. Many of the competitors with whom Dallas had to contend had a lot more training when they were younger. Some of them had access to ski slopes anytime they wanted. Dallas was not in that same situation. He could only ski once or twice a week when he was growing up. This put him in a position where he was always trying to make up for lost time. There is the sense that Dallas felt like he deserved more success than his skill allowed. He blamed his failure to be recognized on an inability to cut through the clutter on social media, as opposed to his performance relative to his competitors. Jumping over Highway 40 was a way to make up for his shortcomings, his lack of training, and his lack of funds, and place himself on the map instantly. It was a path to easy money and easy fame. Dallas believed that he didn't have any other option. He sent a text message to a friend which read, quote, "How else am I ever going to make a name for myself in the ski industry?" Unquote. The obvious risks of the jump may have bothered Dallas a little bit, but he had an unrealistically high level of confidence. Magical thinking may have contributed to his attitude. For instance, he used terms like manifesting. Dallas may have believed himself to be destined for greatness. He noted the significance of being born on October 17th, the same day as the legendary daredevil, Evel Knievel. I have a separate video about Evel Knievel. Item number 4, the case of Dallas LeBeau reflects how dangerous it can be if somebody has impulsivity, excitement-seeking, and grandiosity. Each of these 3 traits can be troublesome on their own, but when they are combined, they can be lethal. Impulsivity has a strong association with poor decision-making, and it is clearly evident in this case. For instance, Dallas never bothered to perform the calculations to determine if he had sufficient speed or lift to clear the highway. Excitement seeking only added to the danger. Individuals who score high in this trait typically require ever-increasing levels of stimulation to feel satisfied. It's almost like having an addiction. Larger quantities of the drug become necessary over time to achieve the same effect. Dallas had been seeking thrills since he was very young. Initially, he had been satisfied with safer jumps, but eventually, anything even marginally safe was no longer good enough. A further distortion in thinking was caused by grandiosity. Dallas believed that he was incredibly special. In his mind, the only reason he had not achieved success in the ski industry was a lack of exposure. He was destined to be a celebrity. This contributed to him feeling invulnerable. How could he possibly be harmed in this jump over the highway if he was meant to succeed? The reason Dallas did not make the calculations is because he did not want to know the answer. He was going to attempt the jump either way. Impulsivity, excitement-seeking, and grandiosity combined and contributed to Dallas seeking out a shortcut to fame. He was prepared to bypass traditional routes to success. All he had to do was jump over one highway, and he would be on the road to glory. Ultimately, he did make contact with a road, just not the road he desired. Dallas always wanted fame, and arguably, he achieved it. The problem is, he paid a much higher price than he anticipated. Now moving to my final thoughts. Whenever a tragedy like this occurs, people often wonder if they could have talked the daredevil out of the reckless behavior. Maybe something could have been said which would have changed the mind of the daredevil. Realistically, this is very difficult to do, if not impossible, in some situations. Dallas LeBeau had a belief and a prediction that were probably connected to each other. He would tell people, live every day like it's your last. And he predicted that he was not going to live a long life. One could argue that the belief helped the prediction to come true. Those are my thoughts in the case of Dallas LeBeau. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.